Okay, so what I'm going to be demonstrating today is the preliminary version of the E-thology system. And to access this, let me first of all close out of this and start a new session. To begin with, of course, after opening your web browser, you would begin by typing in the address. Now, the one I'm going to give you is a little strange. It's just a temporary address. I'll be providing a permanent one, as I say, once I set up the server next week. But the one I'll be using here is, and if you want to go ahead and type this into your computer now, you can do so after opening up a web browser. It's a series of numbers. This computer is in my office at the moment. It's 10, 10, period, 82, period, 56, period, 21, colon, 8180, slash, it gets easier from here, I promise. The next part is Chimera, Chimera, proto, PROT0, slash, E-thology.
Any dash in E-thology?
No. Okay, and what it will do is it'll present you with a login screen. I've already logged in, so you didn't see that. But this is, you'll be able to log in with your JSU email address. The username it'll ask you to type in is your email address. And the password, at least for the moment, is your first name printed in lowercase. You'll have the option of changing that later, of course. And then after you do that, you'll see the main screen, which is what you're looking at here. This design will change a little bit as the system evolves and grows, but this is our most recent version of it. And what you're seeing here basically is a title here at the top, and also the navigation tools and other tools here on the left.
I'm going to move over here too, so we can see that.
Let's bring it all closer so we can see. Okay, now the tools that appear here will be different depending on who's logged into the system. The ones that you see here are the ones that everyone sees, the students and instructors. And from here you can browse the table of contents, the works in the E-thology, you can access your messages, and you can access certain tools. Let me show you some of the other ones here. And depending on who logs in, they may have different roles, different levels of access. Instructors will get a separate toolbar called Instructor Tools. This will include things like creating groups for each one of their classes, adding students to groups, removing students from groups, etc., handling messaging to the class. Author administrator tools, which I'll be talking about here, these are the tools for actually managing the content within the system, adding authors, adding and editing works, adding annotations, and linking in multimedia content. And then there are webmaster tools. These are things that I believe Jennifer and Gina will have access to initially. Things like creating the table of contents and managing users for the entire system rather than just for a particular class, as with the instructors and so on. So these are the tools. And just to give you a flavor of how this works, when the students log in, they'll be able to browse the contents of the system in several ways. They can go into the table of contents and they can dig down into that. And we see here, you have several options of how we can divide up the content. It can be divided into parts, and then from there into categories, and the works in the system. Let me talk a little bit about the structure of that. The individual works of literature will be added as works, first of all, and each work will be divided up into documents. And how that'll be done will be up to the author administrators. If the original work was divided up into chapters, for example, you might have one document corresponding to each chapter. In addition to those, you can also add a foreword, some expository text at the beginning, or an afterword at the end, and you can arrange it any way you want. And the way that you add the content, to come back to the author administrator tools, the way you'll do this after you log in, you'll go to, let's say we want to add a work of literature. You would go to Add Edit Work, and then if it's a new work that you're adding in for the first time, you would just click this one here, Add New Work. And that'll bring up a separate tab here. And this is where you'll do all your editing. First, you'll have to put in, you can put in the information for that particular work, the title, the subtitle, the author or authors, the year it was published, etc. And then from there, once you have that information in, the properties of the work, if you will, you can begin by adding the documents, the content. And to do that, you would just click on New Document. and provide a name for it. Let's call this one Chapter 1, just for example. Okay, and it'll open up this editor in a new tab. And if we want to create a second one, let me just do this really quick. Chapter 2, for instance. Okay, and that'll open that up in a new tab. So you can open every single part of the work in this tabbed editing tool. And if you look at this and the way it's designed, you'll recognize that this is very similar to Microsoft Word, for example. You have formatting tools. You can create bulleted lists, numbered lists, and you can also link in content like special characters. If you have characters that use accent marks or other non-standard characters, you can pick them from a list. You can add video, embedded media, audio or video, links from YouTube, for example, by using these tools. You can add images and control the way that they look. But mostly you'll be using this for the text, of course, so let me very briefly show you how that works. Open up a new window, and let's say, let's get something from the internet. Something nice and long. I'm going to find The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I'll copy in the first chapter of that. Here we are. Okay, so, and this would work the same if you have the text of the work that you want to add in a word processor, for example, in Microsoft Word. You would select the text from here. You would just do a straight copy and paste. You would copy everything, copy, and then we switch back to our other window. You would highlight your text here, and you would paste it right in. So let's see, Command V, I believe. Yeah, there it is, and it'll be plugged directly into your editor. And if you need to go in and format, italicize things, you can certainly do that. And you can also link in other features like annotations, for example. If you want to add a note for a particular piece of text, like a term that a reader may not be familiar with, if you want to ask the reader a question about a certain passage, if you want to provide extra information to describe an event mentioned in this story, or to put something in context, you can highlight it. And one of the tools here, which I have yet to add, this is one of those things that's still, not finalized yet with the system. But in this category here, annotations, you'll have a list of comments that either you have added in the past or you can add new ones. And then it's just simply lines of text, whatever you want to appear in that comment that can pop up for the user. And then once you enter that in, you would just click one of these buttons and link it into the text. And when the reader opens this up and views it, those will appear as little bullets here in the left margin. Different icons signifying different types of things. If it's a definition, you might see a little dictionary book. If it's a question, you might see a question mark, etc.
That's one thing I had sent to Jay everything that everybody had collected, just kind of running lists of what, and that's one thing that I thought he was very thoughtful about and noting. He said, okay, some people have put definitions of words. Some people have included their personal comments, like things you would say during a lecture. Some people have multimedia, and so instead of kind of grouping them all together and just random comments, he has come up with the idea to put them with different icons. So if they see the little dictionary, they know it's a definition. If they see maybe a microphone or whatever, they know it's the instructor notes. So I think that's going to be really helpful too. And there are different levels of that, so they can see, is this correct? Just the dictionary, or just the multimedia, or just.
Yeah, in the reading tools, they'll be able to filter out ones that they don't want to see. So they can exclude, if they've already seen the definitions, for example, they can exclude those and not have them appear. And then you can link those in. And along the same lines, you can link in, I'm going to be building some more sophisticated tools for working with photo galleries, multimedia, and also research sources. If you're writing a piece of expository text, for example, and you cite one or more journals, books, some other source, you could build a database of research sources, enter those in, all the relevant information about those sources, link those in the same way, and then when that document is displayed for the reader, the citations will be inserted in the right place, and it'll build a works cited list for you at the end, and it'll format it automatically in the MLA format or whatever other format you want to use. So these are the features that are in the works. Some of these will be there as soon as the system goes live next week. Others, like the photo gallery, for instance, or the multimedia gallery, will take a little bit longer. But these are the options that you'll have. And as you can see here, there's plenty of room for adding more if we come up with another idea for something else that we might want to add. And then as soon as you enter in the text, you copy and paste it into this editor. If there's another part of the document, you enter the text for that part. You format it exactly the way you want. You can come back to this and, for example, change the order. If we add, for example, an introduction, okay, that's a new document, and we want that to appear at the top. You can select it and move it to the top. And then once you click on Save, it saves it to the database. It doesn't do it now again because this is sort of a interim solution. But that's all you have to do to add works to the system. And if you're the subject matter expert for this particular author or this particular period of literature, that work will show up automatically in the table of contents, and the documents will be listed in the same order that you specify here, and it will appear for the readers exactly as it appears here in the editor. They'll see it exactly as you see it here on the screen. And if you add a work, for example, for another author, an author that you may not be the designated authority on, the person who is the designated authority will get a notification through the messaging system, and they'll be able to look at your submission or comments that you might want to make on something that they've written. You won't be able to change their text, but you'll be able to add comments saying, you misspelled a word here, or shouldn't there be something about this over here. The readers won't see those comments, but you will when you log in and review what they've written. And you can either approve the changes, disapprove the changes, ask for more information, etc. So there will be quite a number of tools here to allow everyone to collaborate and to contribute to each other's work and peer review each other's work as the system grows. And as soon as those changes are approved again, they'll appear in at least the list of works and the list of authors as the works and authors are added. They won't appear necessarily in the table of contents automatically because someone has to decide where those works should fit into the table of contents. I think Jennifer and Gina will be handling that organizational task, at least in the beginning. But as soon as they approve it and give it a place within this structure, the table of contents, it will appear there, and the students will be able to access it. Okay, so that's and that's really about all you need to know as far as the basic editing tasks, accessing the system, going into the editors, and creating the works. It's simply a matter of copying and pasting. And if you're already familiar with Microsoft Word, you already know most of what you need to know about using this editor.
Do you have the student view on there?
No, not yet, because we don't have a database linked into this just yet. But it's basically, I mean, you click on the work and it looks exactly like this. It's very much the same. The options that you have there, for example, you can click a button and this window will expand to fill the screen, which is very nice, especially on a tablet, because it looks just like a commercial ebook when you do that. They can all there will be note-taking features, so they'll be able to go in and take notes and cite specific passages in correspondence with their instructor. They can highlight something and click a button and say, I don't understand what this is talking about. And the instructor will immediately see what it is that they're talking about because it'll be quoted in their message.
There's it's kind of similar to, you know how in the Blackboard shell you can kind of create your own components for your class, like different things that they can do. Instructors, whether they're author administrators or not, will have those capabilities of communicating with their students submitting highlighted text or questions, the teacher. You know how you can kind of customize the McGraw-Hill handbook, the thing that you can highlight it and put sticky notes on it. So it's kind of like the best features of Blackboard, the best features of an ebook, and it's all this stuff kind of layered on together. And let me just tell you, Gloria and April, if y'all are a little anxiety-ridden about having to do all this, get all this in there, just pray with us that we will get that grant, because in the grant we wrote for 2 graduate assistants to help us do, manage all this data. And Dr. Turner has agreed that if we get the grant, that she'll fund one for however long we need one after that. So, I mean, we will have help with this.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that work will be in the beginning, just getting everything in. But once it's there, through the editing tools, it'll just be a matter of maintaining it.
Right.
Going in and adding comments. And the instructors, I should add, can also add their own comments. not comments that are visible to everyone, but only to the students in their
Right.
class. So they can highlight something and say, pay attention to this, we'll have an exam on this next week, something like that.
So if you just teach it, you can, whether you wrote it or not, you can make those comments.
Yes. Yeah.
And those won't be saved for everybody to see, just your class section to see.
Mhm.
And what Jay said he's gonna be able to do is you can save that from semester to semester, or you'll be able to wipe your slate clean at the end of a semester and start over with your new people in there.
Yeah, you can create a group for every semester so that when your students access the system for the first time, they can add themselves to your group. And then after they do that, after you create the group, you can bring in messages and other things that you developed from prior semesters and import it automatically so that all your notes and everything else will be there, in addition to the ones provided by the author administrators.
I have a question.
Shoot.
If you're not teaching 201
Mhm.
or 202, but you use some of these stories, like I use Young Goodman Brown in 102, will my students be able to
Absolutely.
access it?
Yes.
Yeah, what we're going to give instructors the ability to do, this is something else I should mention. This table of contents is going to be for the entire E-thology collection. But if a certain class is only going to use some of the works in the collection, or if the instructor wants them to be listed in a different order, they have the option of building their own table of contents. And when the student adds themselves to the group and they log in after becoming a member of that group, their table of contents will be shown either in addition to or even in place of the built-in one. So if you want to pick and choose the works that you might want to use in your class, if you want to break off a branch of this and make that your table of contents, or even roll your own, as it were, you can do that and put together your own list, and your students will see that and will be able to interact with that directly.
So you don't even have to pull all of Hawthorne, you could just pull Young Goodman Brown, or, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I think is gonna be really helpful. The students are gonna know exactly what they're responsible for reading if you kind of build your own table of contents for each individual section. All of it's right there,
Mhm.
you know, and.
And again, that's one of the things you can save from one semester to the next. So again, I wish I had more of these features online to be able to show you. I wish they had gotten me that server information sooner so I could put up the real address for you to bookmark in your browser right away. But as I say, it'll be early next week at the latest that this system will be live, the
And
first
at that
version of
time-
this system.
Okay, I need some assurance on this too. Can we break this? Like, because if you give me a username and a passcode, I can tear stuff up really easily. I mean, how fragile is this?
It'll be pretty good. It'll be pretty solid. And I'm going to be doing backups every night.
Okay.
So if something happens and if something goes bad, I mean that's one of the advantages of hosting our own system. We have the server. That's the server that's hosting this system. The server computer is right down the hall from my office. So if something goes wrong, I'll be able to just stop right by, restore the backup copies, perform whatever maintenance I need to.
Did they give you permission to keep it there indefinitely?
Yes, I think so.
Good.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't, because some of the other professors have their own servers in there also for their classes. So again, we built it. We can do anything we want to do with it completely autonomously. As you begin to use this system and get more experience with it, if any of you have any ideas for new features, something that you might want to work differently, or if you need any clarification on something, or if you need me to walk you through it, I'd love to get as much of that kind of feedback as I can, because as I think I said the first time I came over here to talk about the project, the more of that kind of feedback we can get from the people who will be using this in their classrooms, the more responsive we can make it to what they need. So
That's kind of what this semester is for, to make it, for us to not be so rushed to get the data put in, and, to really learn how to use the system and to be able to email Jay and say, okay, I don't understand this, can we change this, or can we, and.
mhm. Yeah, and get more familiar with it ourselves, so that by the time we begin to pilot this in one of the classes, perhaps we'll already have had some experience with it, and it'll already have a fully populated body of content in there for us to work with.
Y'all have any questions about anything?
This has nothing to do with what he's done, but for traditional classes, like I teach American Lit 201 in June, if it's not advertised as an online class or any hybrid class or whatever, I have students in 348 this semester who do not have a computer. So can I still require them to use this when, I mean, what do you think, Bob? How, you know, with all this technology and we still have traditional classes,
I think you better provide another option.
well, I mean, I would probably still have the textbook, but if I wanted to use this, I mean, like, yeah, I taught in 234 this summer, and there's a TV in there, and I did a lot of video things and whatever, you know, in there, which I could access that on the TV in there, but not make it an assignment to them, I guess. I mean, I don't know how, how in the future we're
One
going to
thing
be
that's
able to
coming
work
is
that.
pretty soon, it won't be next fall, but I'm thinking the next fall, just in working with orientation and first year student retention and all that kind of stuff, they're about to start doling out iPads as part of their.
Well, until it's
orientation.
required or they have something, I
But
don't
I think
think
you could get, I think probably if you could list the class as hybrid, I don't know, that's just a guess, and I don't know if you would, Dr. Felker even want to do that or how that would work, but, you know, if you wanted them to use it, but.
Yeah,
Because
and-
I usually have, for a traditional class, I have a large number.
What time does your class finish?
12:30 to.
One thing you could do too, I guess, is maybe give them time, like maybe have lab time, you know, during your, I've done this
Well, there's no
before.
one else up here except me, just about at
Yeah,
that time
you know,
frame,
'cause
you
so
know.
they could maybe use the computers in the lab in there,
Well, that's an idea. That's an
you
idea.
know, 1 day a week or something.
Yeah, or as an alternative, one of the, because I have the same issue with some of my students. They don't like using online textbooks. They like having a printed book. One of the things I'm going to do with this is offer them the ability to download a copy of this as like each individual work has its own little ebook. So if they have an iPad, they can download it and read it offline, or they can print it if they want to. So just to try to give them other ways of using it beyond simply reading it off of a screen, because I know that's difficult for some people, especially if their vision has issues or if they have problems concentrating on reading something from a screen.
Any questions about anything?
Yeah.
We'll get the email and the passwords and login.
Yeah, it'll be your email address, your JSU email address. Let me just show you where you would put that in. You would type in your email address here in the login screen. The password would be your first name entered in lowercase. But of course, one of the tools you'll have is the ability to change that. So that's one of the first things I'd recommend you do when the time comes. But from there, I mean, I'll give you won't have to type in this weird address in your browser. It'll actually be a JSU.edu web address that you'll be able to bookmark in your browser, and it'll be the same for everybody.
Thanks a
On
lot.
the email address, do you have to put the @jsu.edu?
Yes. Yes.